Hello and welcome in everybody. Welcome to week 11 power rankings. I know we're a little delayed. Had some stuff going on earlier this week. Couldn't necessarily get them out on Tuesday, but we're still here. I got my guest up here, Wolfie, going to be helping me out this week. So we had a huge week. We had a lot of movement going on in the power rankings. First place votes, as you guys will see, are kind of scattered all over the place. We did only have 5 entries though, and I kind of want to address that. So this is actually our lowest participation we've had on the year. There's a couple of people that we kind of do expect that don't really submit every week. If we're being honest, I think we all know who those are. Now, one of these individuals actually reached out to me, is fine with me saying who he actually is, and that is Zaid. So we have a message from Zaid that just wanted everyone to know that this quote from him: "I am boycotting power rankings for a reason." So we had to dig a little bit deeper and find out, what's going on with Zaid, what's wrong. And it appears that the reason is actually slander from the Boston Cream Pies on the Zorillas roster. Zaid, the owner Zaid, was actually told he shouldn't be as active having the team that he has. And I just want to take the time and say that, we can't tolerate this sort of slander in our league, especially coming from the commissioner. I mean, he can't be encouraging people. He's suppressing votes currently by saying that, his team isn't good enough. He shouldn't be involved. So I think there's only one way we solve this, and that's going to be just through this, So I'd love to have Zaid and Jason on next week. We need to hash this out, figure out what's going on. We can get their insight on the power rankings and just have them, go at it live on the power rankings reveal show. I think it'd be great. So we'll go ahead and roll into the power rankings. As usual, we'll start on the bottom.
Number 10.
So coming at number 10, we actually have Trevor's 4K Blu-ray player, aka Team Tots. So Team Tots actually dropped 4 spots after setting a Weekend Dad's record lowest scored points of 44.14 points. I mean, looking at this, we have to think that Kansas City stack might be even more important than we really thought it was. We've talked briefly past weeks just how important that Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes stack has been for Team Tots and his point production for his team, but I mean, he's just having a really rough time without both those guys on there. He had no players in double digits, and he also had a 0 coming from Jimmy Graham. I was looking at his team. He's got David Johnson that actually got put on the IR, so his running backs are continually going to be a weak spot for this team. And he has he had a really big chance last week to actually take the division lead, or at least really close in on when he was going against Mark and the Booty Pebbles, but he really fell short there, and I think the voters really took notice here, making him a clear number 10. This coming week, he'll actually take on, I wrote down here, fellow bottom feeder, Cardboard Hippos. So this will be an attempt for the Team Tots to actually kind of push their way back up into the division. They're still in the thick of things, sitting there at 4-6. He will be getting his 2 best players, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, back, but he'll definitely be needing more from DK Metcalf and Mike Williams to be able to stay relevant kind of in the playoff picture and be able to take a push. So that's what we got for Team Tots. We'll go ahead and move on to the next team.
Number 9.
Coming at number 9, we have the Zorillas. So Zaid actually dropped down 2 spots to number 9 after his second loss in a row, and he fell to the Cardboard Hippos. They had a close matchup. It was 108 to 105. And I think it actually ended up coming down to about Monday Night Football. So that was an exciting one to watch, and it was pretty important. We had been talking the week before that the loser of this matchup, most likely, their season was pretty much going to be over. So it really does look like Zaid kind of got his roster together there at the end. He made some trades. His roster is looking pretty solid, but it might have just been too late for the Zorillas. He's 3-7 now, 3 games back in the division. It really looks like the division, the only person that's going to be able to make the playoffs out of there is going to be that division champ. So it looks like that season might be over, and he has another tough matchup against the hottest team in the league and possibly the best team in the league, Gibson's. So he'll be taking on Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook this week. Going to be a rough matchup for the Zorillas, so we'll see if Zaid's been able to pull through. We've had him twice on the show. He feels confident in his team, but he's really going to have to win out, and I think get a little bit more help to be able to continue to make a playoff push here. And his season, hate to say it, Zaid, but your season might be over. So go ahead and move on.
Number 8.
Coming at number 8, we actually have Zayd's opponent, the Cardboard Hippos. So Dustin was finally able to get out of that 10 spot. He finally got that 10 spot victory that we got used to seeing for 7 weeks in a row. He's still riding the back of Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson's big games. So he had a good game from both of those guys. He also had solid showings from DJ Moore and Kareem Hunt. DJ Moore was able to score 17. Kareem came back with 15. Kareem Hunt honestly looks still pretty good in that offense, even with Nick Chubb back. They complement each other really well, and Kareem's kind of able to get those receptions, get the passing work, while Nick Chubb's able to kind of chug away at those yards. I think you look at Dustin's team, it's solid, but it lacks the big boom potential that you see in a lot of the higher ranked teams above him. So we all know that earlier in the season, injuries kind of plagued this team. He had to go make some questionable trades. But he'll really need to kind of win out to be able to take the division. He's behind a lot by points scored to Chain Gang and possibly even Mark. I haven't looked at that part. But yeah, I think he'll need to win out to be able to make any chance of making the playoff. He will get an easier week this week. Well, theoretically taking on the number 10 ranked Tots. And it's going to be a must win for that division. He does have Josh Allen on bye, so that's one of his top players that it could be an issue for him. So we'll definitely need to keep track of that. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next team.
Number 7.
So coming at number 7, we have the Boston Cream Pies. So the Cream Pies continue to slide down the power rankings after falling to the Gibsons this past week. When asked about the losing streak, franchise owner Jason just said, "I honestly can't remember the last time we had a win." This is 3 straight losses now for the Cream Pies after the controversial Super Bowl that they actually had, where they scored 175 points against the Chain Gang. Now there were a lot of accusations that week of, the Chain Gang made trades just to win that week. And you got to look at it in question. It's 3 straight now. He had a huge week that last week, but they've really been struggling ever since. Now look at this roster, and I don't see much wrong, honestly, with it. Now his young running backs haven't hit the exact way that he's expected, I think. Lamar Jackson hasn't had a single 30-point week yet on the season. But it all boils down to the start and sit decisions haven't really worked out for the Cream Pies this year. So if you kind of look this past week, did he have 2 20-point scoring players on his bench? It's possible. Would both of these players or either one of them put into the lineup brought a victory for him? Most likely. But that's kind of been the story the whole season. It's been coin flips, and it seems whatever player that the Cream Pies end up playing, it just hasn't worked out the way he's expected. So this week he's actually going to be taking on the Bebop and Baby Bears, so this will be his desperate attempt, I really think, to try to save the season and kind of climb back into the standings and into the playoff picture. So we'll see what the Cream Pies are able to do this week. We'll go ahead and move on to the next team.
Number 6.
Coming at number 6, we got the Chain Gang. So the Chain Gang has arisen from the ashes. They went on a 3-game losing streak, and it seemed that the season might be over. This might be it for them. But they were actually able to defeat the Bebop and Baby Bears this past week in a close matchup. It went all the way down to Sunday Night Football. And this victory kind of put them right back in the playoff picture. They're now 2 games behind Booty Pebbles for that division lead. They've been a high-scoring team all season long and actually have the 3rd most points per game in the league. The biggest tripping point for the Chain Gang has really just been their points against. They have the most points against in the league, and it just looks like every single week after week, they've just been getting high scoring. They finally got a break this week with Bebop and Baby Bears not able to score over 100, and it brought victory for the Chain Gang. So they're going to need a little bit more luck and continue that high scoring to be able to keep pushing up the standings. You look at the roster, I still don't love that wide receiver 2 and that running back 2, and the wide receivers they look very reliant on the Steelers to play well, just because he has that Chase Claypool and Juju. Both had great weeks this past week, looked really good. Juju, I know we had slandered him a little bit earlier in the season. He looks to be back and involved in that offense. Chase Claypool has been an outstanding breakout player this season. But if the Steelers have a bad week and he's playing both those guys, it's going to be rough for him. Michael Thomas has been really interesting, I think, this season. He was injured for a large part of it. And now it just seems he's not getting the receptions. Now he has Jameis Winston coming in, so we'll see if that can change with that. He will also, the chain gang will be getting Travis Kelce this week. And he has a big divisional matchup that he kind of needs to be able to make up some ground with Booty Pebbles. So some have said this is Trevor's Super Bowl. Some have said this is Mark's Super Bowl. But regardless, I think this is going to be a big matchup and kind of deciding who wins that division, and if the chain gang can make up some ground, kind of close that 2-game gap that exists right now and take down Booty Pebbles. So that'll definitely be one to watch out for.
Number 5.
So coming at number 5, we had the counterpart of that matchup, Mark and the Booty Pebbles. So congratulations, Mark. You've been leading your division, it seems like, all year, and you have finally cracked the top 5 in the power rankings. I don't know if you're going to be happy or upset about that. You seem to like the hate, and it fuels your team and kind of your victories that I don't know how you keep getting, but it's whatever. Now looking back, it does look like the Booty Pebbles got a presumable bye almost last week, with only having to go against 44 points from Team Tots. But they did have standout performances from Antonio Gibson, as well as the return of Nick Chubb. So both those guys scored. Antonio Gibson scored over 20. Nick Chubb was right under it, I think, with 19. So 2 solid weeks right there. Outside of that, there was no major standouts with the team. Mark only ended up scoring just over 100 points, so wasn't necessarily a great week, but he did have some good showings there from 2 players. Now this coming week, he does have CEH coming back, and Kenny Golladay has actually been practicing, so that could possibly be the first action for the Booty Pebbles from Kenny Golladay after acquiring him in a trade. This is finally, Mark's going to be back at full strength, it seems, and he's going to need to kind of just coast to a couple more victories and keep that lead in the division to be able to get into the playoffs. Now, we do see, you look over his lineup, he's got good old famous Jameis up in there, so he's going to be looking to eat some W's here against the number 5 ranked chain gang in what we assume is going to be an important matchup in that division, and can honestly get Mark even closer to locking that up and locking up his playoff spot.
Number 4.
So coming at number 4, we have the Nutcrackers. So despite their victory over the Cream Pies this last week, the Nutcrackers still lose a spot and drop to 4. They had great weeks from Josh Jacobs with 28, DeAndre Hopkins had 23, T. Higgins had 20, and Brandon Ayuk had 16. So I mean, you got that Clemson dynamic duo there with Hopkins and T. Higgins just doing work for him, as well as Brandon Ayuk, another rookie wide receiver, doing great. That DeAndre Hopkins catch, man, that was just absolutely incredible, and I think he's one of the best wide receivers probably in the NFL, and I've absolutely loved him since he was at Clemson. But we look on his bench, he had Tom Brady down there with 32 points, so Nutcrackers didn't even need him, but we saw a bounce back week for Brady there against the Panthers. Team was able to score 135, so a good team win, right there, kind of where you want to be points wise for the Nutcrackers. They've been pretty consistent all season, and this was able to bump them up to 6-4 with the number 2 spot in the division. So I mean, yeah, like I said, you continue to look at this roster and it's just kind of solid across the board. They've gotten really good rookie talent that's really shown up and been able to help this team. I think the wide receiver core is very scary with DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, they've just been solidly scoring well every week after week. Running backs look pretty good. He's going to be waiting on Chris Carson and Austin Eckler to get back and healthy, to be back at full strength. Now we look ahead the next week. He does have a big division game coming up with Jimmy and Jimmy's Mags. So this is going to be a big week with playoff implications of these guys trying to fight for a playoff spot, along with the Bebop and Baby Bears. So those 3 are all right there, right together at 6-4. And one of these guys is going to fall and drop kind of a little bit further behind in that race. So we'll see who's able to kind of pull it out.
Number 3.
Coming at number 3, we have the Bebop and Baby Bears. So the Bears actually drop 1 spot after failing to score 100 points for the first time so far this season and losing to the Chain Gang. So this loss actually put the Bebop and Baby Bears in a tougher spot. They were up there with Gibson's kind of off in their own. Meanwhile, the Nutcrackers and Mags were kind of fighting for that last playoff spot. Well, this dropped them down right into that playoff race. So that'll be a big fight for that 3rd and 4th playoff spot. Ridley, it looks like he's finally going to be back. He has been practicing in full, so we'll see if he's able to kind of get his first action since his foot injury. But it also does look like the Baby Bears are going to be missing Christian McCaffrey for yet another week, which is just rather unfortunate after that trade. David Montgomery, while he's not the scariest running back, is going to be on bye this week, which leaves the Baby Bears with only 2 running backs, James Conner and Mike Davis. So here's to knocking on wood that those guys stay healthy, we don't have any issues, and they're able to play for the Bears, or they're going to be in a tough spot. It is surprising that there was no waiver claim on Ahmed. It's possible that the Baby Bears were very indulged in Call of Duty or something due to the new release, that they were not paying attention to waivers, but we will have to dig a little bit further into reports to find out what actually happened there. The wide receiver room appears to finally be back to health with Ridley, Boyd, Fuller, and Godwin. I mean, it's exciting to finally get all those guys playing at once. It seems like I've had so many injuries lately. And I'm just hoping I can get some production out of those guys, keep it going. I know Godwin basically has one hand now. I'm hoping Ridley's 100%. Boyd's been consistent. And Will Fuller just needs to stay healthy. So hopefully we can do it. Recently, the points have been on a downward trend for the Baby Bears. So we'll look to bounce back this week and possibly end the cream pie season and dig further into a playoff spot. So we'll see what the Baby Bears are able to do against the cream pies this week.
Number 2.
Coming at number 2, we have the Mags. So this is a big 2-spot jump for, I think, for Jimmy. So this is the Mags up to number 2. And his team's really just been on the rise after the past couple weeks. He's had great weeks from Devontae Adams, Kyler Murray, James Robinson. And he was able to hold on to victory over the highest ranked team in the division, Gibson's, by just under a point. This was a huge victory and kind of brought the Mags back into the playoff spot. It was probably a must win to be able to close that gap up into the Baby Bears and the Nutcrackers. Now, looking at his lineup, it does seem that he put Zeke back in after bye. We know Zeke has had kind of his struggles along with that Dallas offense. They did look a little bit better right there before their bye, and they are playing Minnesota, who's not the best defense in the world. So he will have Zeke. Kyler Murray, like we said, has been fantastic. He's got a Seattle matchup. Devontae Adams has just been absolutely on fire. He's playing Michael Pittman currently, which will be an interesting matchup there against Green Bay. You expect some points scored, I guess, there. Michael Pittman has looked really good. Check out his YouTube channel. Yeah, that's all there is to really say, I think, about the Mags. So
Number 1.
Coming at number 1, we have Gibson still locked in up there. So, I mean, we've talked about Colin's team past couple weeks. I think this is 3 weeks maybe in a row he's now been at number 1. Let me take a quick check. So Colin has been number 1 now. Yes, this is his 3rd week in a row. So that's pretty impressive for the Gibsons. He has leading up at quarterback position, Justin Herbert with his new haircut. So we'll see how he's able to perform. Hopefully he didn't lose all of his magic and his luscious golden locks. Now, the true leaders of this team have really been Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook. I was looking just kind of at the points scored on the season fantasy-wise, and these are the top 2 guys for the skill positions, and it's not really close, honestly. I think the next one behind them was Derrick Henry, and he was almost a game and a half of points basically behind both these guys. So they've just been absolutely electric. Last week, Dalvin Cook didn't even have a great week against the Chicago defense. He only scored 13 points, but still, I think a lot of people in this league would be happy to have, 13 points coming from their running back spot. Wide receiver wise, Devontae Parker, I think, has been a solid wide receiver. He hasn't been scoring great. We've seen past years, though, he can be elite and game breaking. It's just going to take kind of Tua getting the ball to him out there. We'll see what he's able to do. Antonio Brown on the Buccaneers. There's just so many mouths to feed out there that you never really know who's going to have the big weeks there. Antonio Brown, I think his routes have looked good. Tom Brady's missed them on a couple deep balls that really could have been kind of big points for him, but we'll see how that goes. DeAndre Swift, another running back that's kind of been able to break out, and on the Gibsons, just what we need, more running backs on there. He actually had 23 points last week. So yeah, I think Collins' path to victory and kind of looks like he's going to be pretty much locked in for the playoffs as long as the wheels don't completely fall off. His big thing is just going to be Dalvin Cook, Kamara staying healthy. He just needs these guys who have had histories of having issues to be able to kind of make it to the end of the season and keep scoring as big as they have. I mean, they've had incredible weeks. You just got to look at all their weeks on the season. It's just been insane. But he'll be taking on the Zorillas this week. Hard matchup, honestly, for the Zorillas. I think we expect Colin to win here, but you never know with how this season has gone. It's been a really close season with all these teams, and anyone can have a big week at any point. So that's going to wrap up our top 10 power rankings. As you guys can see, first place votes wise, we were a little scattered all over the board. So Colin had 1 vote, Jimmy had 1 vote, Austin won, Mark won, as well as Jason all the way down at number 7 had a first place vote. So overall, big week for the power rankings. We had some good matchups last week, and they've really kind of shaken things up. We had a lot of high movers with Mark, Trevor. Eric dropping 4 spots, Jason continuing to drop. So it's really shaken up, and I think the playoff picture is beginning to get a little bit more clear. There's a lot of teams. I think at this point, everyone can basically still make it. The only person that's very close to being out or has probably a very, very slim chance would be Zaid. So he is going to have to win out and get some help, but otherwise it's kind of up in the air of who can make those last season pushes. It'll definitely be interesting. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you guys think of the power rankings, if you guys are mad with your ranking, if you would like to see Zaid and Jason duke it out next week about this whole beef that they got going. Get this figured out, but make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.